Hello and welcome to the Learn English Lab. I'm Mike, and we have a really fascinating deep dive for you all today. We're going to be looking at daily habits, those small but really powerful ones that can make a big difference in how happy you are overall. And to kind of guide us through all this, we have Sarah joining us, our well-being expert.
It's great to be here, Mike. I'm really looking forward to getting into all these habits and sharing some tips that you can use right away.
That's great. Yeah. And I just want to give everyone a little sneak peek at what we'll be talking about. We'll be discussing how those tiny moments, like when you disconnect from your phone or your computer, can actually make you happier.
Yeah.
We'll even look into something called kintsugi thinking, which is based on this really amazing Japanese art. And get this, just walking barefoot on grass can really help reduce stress.
Yeah, we'll be covering all that and more. It's pretty cool how a lot of these habits are all about connecting with yourself and the world in a more mindful way.
Okay, I'm definitely intrigued. So let's start with those, what did you call them, micro disconnections? Why are they so important for feeling good?
So think about your typical day. How much time do you spend scrolling through social media or checking emails? Just staring at a screen in general, it's probably more than you think. And all that digital stuff, it can really drain your energy, like mentally and emotionally. Micro disconnections are like those small breaks we take during the day to unplug, de-stress, and just reconnect with ourselves.
So it's like hitting the pause button on all that information overload and letting your brain take a breather.
Exactly. And those little pauses can really make a difference in your mood, how well you focus, and even your physical health. When you step away from the digital world, even for just a few minutes, you're making space for mindfulness, for creativity, even those spontaneous moments of joy that kind of get lost in the everyday rush.
That makes sense. But it's tough to resist those devices, especially with notifications and updates popping up all the time. Any tips on actually creating those micro disconnections?
Oh, absolutely. Start by setting some boundaries with your tech use. Maybe choose certain times in the day as tech-free zones, like during meals or an hour before bed. Or even try leaving your phone in a different room when you need to focus on something. And here's a simple trick. Turn off those notifications. You'd be surprised how much calmer your day feels when you're not constantly being pinged by your devices.
Yeah, that's a good point. Those notifications are such a distraction. So we're making these little pockets of calm in our day. But what about those times when you feel totally overwhelmed or stressed? How can we change our mindset to feel more positive?
That's where kintsugi thinking comes in. It's inspired by this Japanese art called kintsugi, where they repair broken pottery with gold. Instead of hiding the cracks, they actually highlight them and see them as part of the object's history and beauty.
Wow. I really like that analogy.
Yeah.
But how do we actually apply that to our own lives, especially when we're going through tough times or setbacks?
It's about thinking of those difficult experiences as chances to grow and learn. Like, imagine you're facing a big challenge at work. Instead of seeing it as a failure or a weakness, try to see it as a way to develop new skills to become more resilient and to come out of it even stronger.
So it's about embracing those imperfections and seeing them as part of your own unique journey, turning those cracks into something beautiful and powerful.
Yeah, exactly. It's a really powerful shift in how you think that can help you deal with tough situations with more grace, resilience, and maybe even a sense of humor.
Okay, I'm on board with the kintsugi mindset. But how can we actually start using this in our everyday lives?
One simple thing you can do is practice gratitude. It might sound cliche, but taking a few minutes each day to appreciate the good things in your life can have a really big impact on how you feel overall.
Yeah, I can see how that would help. When you're focused on what you're grateful for, it's harder to get stuck in those negative thoughts. Any tips on making gratitude a regular thing?
For sure. Try adding a gratitude glance to your morning routine. Just take like 30 seconds to think of 3 things you're thankful for. It could be anything: a comfy bed, a delicious cup of coffee, a friend who's always there for you. Or even try keeping a gratitude journal where you write down a few things you're grateful for every day. The key is to make it a habit.
I like that, a gratitude glance. Super easy to do, but I bet it really makes a difference over time. So we're being more mindful, practicing gratitude and embracing our imperfections. What other daily habits can we try to boost our happiness?
One that I found super helpful is making yes and no lists each month. Your yes list is full of small commitments to trying new things, things that push you out of your comfort zone a bit and bring you joy. like taking a dance class, visiting a new museum, or finally starting that creative project you've been putting off.
So it's kind of like a mini bucket list, but with things you can actually do. What about the no list? Is that about setting boundaries and saying no to things that drain you?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. It's about identifying those things that just suck the energy out of you. Whether it's scrolling on social media, toxic relationships, or commitments that just don't fit with your values, by choosing what to avoid, you make more space and energy for the things that really matter.
It's like decluttering your life, not just your physical space, but your mental and emotional space as well. I love that. So we're saying yes to new adventures, setting boundaries, and practicing gratitude. This is already a pretty awesome toolkit for a happier life.
Yeah, and we're just getting started. There's so many more interesting habits to talk about.
Okay, bring it on. I'm ready for more.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so let's keep going with this happiness theme. What else do you have for us?
Well, you know how we're always getting so much information thrown at us and we're expected to do a million things at the same time? Like all that multitasking, it could actually be working against our happiness?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely guilty of that. I'm the king of trying to do 5 things at once, and I usually just end up feeling stressed and all over the place.
Yeah, it's a common struggle. But what's really interesting is that when we focus on just one thing at a time, we call that single tasking. Not only do we do a better job at that task, but we also get to experience it more fully.
Yeah, I get that. It's like when you're really present in a conversation or actually enjoying a meal without any distractions, those moments feel so much richer.
Exactly. And that feeling of richness, it actually leads to more satisfaction and joy. So even though our culture is all about multitasking, single tasking can be a secret weapon for happiness.
Okay, I'm definitely going to try to be more mindful about that. Any tips on breaking the multitasking habit?
One thing that can help is to set up a specific workspace, even if it's just a corner of your kitchen table. And make it a rule that when you're in that space, you're only focusing on one thing. Put your phone away. Close any tabs on your computer you don't need. Just get rid of those distractions and give all your attention to whatever you're working on.
Making that space just for focusing makes a lot of sense. It's like telling your brain, all right, time to focus now.
Exactly. And have you ever noticed how some activities can completely absorb your attention and you totally lose track of time?
Oh yeah, all the time. For me, it's playing guitar. I can get so lost in the music that hours just disappear.
That's a great example of what we call flow state. And those activities that get you into that flow state, we often call them slow hobbies. They can be a great way to boost your happiness.
Slow hobbies. What makes them so special?
Think about things like knitting, gardening, painting, woodworking. Things that take patience and focus, where you really have to embrace the process. These hobbies give you a sense of calm and accomplishment that you don't always get in our fast-paced digital world.
It's almost like a kind of moving meditation. You're so focused on what you're doing that you forget about your worries and you're just present in the moment.
That's a great way to put it. And the great thing about slow hobbies is that you can actually see your progress. You have a finished scarf, a beautiful garden, a painting of a sunset. It's a nice change from the instant gratification we're so used to.
I love that. It's about slowing down, savoring the process, and making something with your own hands.
Right. It reminds us that happiness isn't just about reaching goals, it's about enjoying the journey.
So we've talked about single-tasking, slow hobbies. What other unexpected habits can make us happier?
This one might seem a little strange since we've been talking about mindfulness and disconnecting. But talking to strangers can actually boost your mood.
Wait, really? But I'm so awkward. I'm terrible at starting conversations with people I don't know.
I get it, but those little unexpected interactions can really lift your spirits. They remind us that we're all connected, and they create a sense of connection that we often miss in our increasingly isolated world.
I had something like that happen recently. I was feeling kind of down, and I ended up chatting with the barista at my coffee shop. It was just a short conversation, but it really made my day better.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be anything big. A simple good morning to someone you pass on a walk, a compliment to the cashier at the store, those little things can really make a difference.
It's like those ripple effects we talked about before. Kindness leads to more kindness and creates a better atmosphere for everyone. Okay, I'm willing to try it. But what about those times when you're feeling really stressed or down? What are some things we can do in those moments?
One technique that can really help is grounding. And I mean that literally. Spending time barefoot outdoors on grass or sand or soil can have a big impact on how you feel.
You're saying that taking off my shoes and walking on the grass can make me happier.
It might sound a little weird, but there's actually science behind it. Direct contact with the earth helps to neutralize free radicals in your body. It reduces inflammation, and it promotes feelings of calm and relaxation.
Wow. So it's not just a new age thing. There's actually research to support it.
Absolutely. It's a simple but powerful way to reconnect with nature and its calming energy.
I'm definitely adding that to my list of things to try. It sounds very grounding, both literally and figuratively.
It really is. And speaking of feeling grounded, another great way to manage stress and negative emotions is self-compassion.
Self-compassion. What exactly is that?
It's about treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer to a close friend who's going through something tough. We're often so quick to judge ourselves when we make mistakes or don't meet our expectations.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely guilty of that. I'm my own worst critic.
I think a lot of us can relate to that, but the truth is we're all human. We all make mistakes, we all have bad days, and no one's life is perfect, no matter how it seems on social media. Self-compassion is about remembering that and offering ourselves grace and understanding, especially when we need it most.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about being kind to ourselves instead of beating ourselves up. But how do we actually practice self-compassion? It seems kind of abstract.
It starts with noticing those negative thoughts and judgments that come up without trying to push them away or getting lost in them. Just acknowledge them and tell yourself, okay, I'm having this thought right now. It's understandable given what's going on. And then try to offer yourself some comfort and encouragement.
So instead of saying, I'm such a failure, I could say, okay, I messed up this time, but it doesn't mean I'm a failure as a person. I can learn from this and do better next time.
Exactly. It's about shifting from self-criticism to self-support and understanding.
I like that. It's like being your own best friend.
That's a great way to think about it. And when we practice self-compassion, we create a more supportive and nurturing environment within ourselves, which then affects our relationships and our overall well-being.
Okay, so we've covered a lot here. Micro disconnections, slow hobbies, talking to strangers, grounding self-compassion. It's incredible how many simple but powerful things we can do to make ourselves happier.
And remember, start small and be patient with yourself. You don't have to try all of these at once. Choose one or two that resonate with you and go from there.
That's good advice. It's about progress, not perfection. But what happens when things get tough? Because life isn't always easy. How do we handle those setbacks and challenges without letting them ruin our happiness?
That's where reframing comes in. It's about challenging those negative thoughts and choosing to see those challenges as opportunities for growth and learning.
So instead of seeing a setback as a failure, we could see it as a chance to become more resilient and learn some valuable lessons.
Exactly. And sometimes it's just about shifting our focus. Instead of dwelling on the things we can't control, we can choose to focus on the things we can control: our attitude, our effort, how we respond to the situation.
It's about choosing to see the glass as half full, even when things are tough.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And remember, every challenge we overcome makes us stronger and more capable.
Okay, I'm feeling inspired. But I have to admit, sometimes it's hard to stay positive when my mind is full of worries and what-ifs. Any advice on how to quiet those thoughts?
One technique I find really helpful is visualization. It's about creating a really clear picture in your mind of yourself achieving your goals and feeling all the emotions that come with that success.
It's like a mental rehearsal for happiness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when we visualize consistently, we're basically training our subconscious mind to believe that those positive outcomes are possible.
That's pretty cool. But I have to admit, I sometimes feel a little silly doing visualizations. Any tips on how to make them feel more effective?
The key is to use all your senses. Don't just see yourself reaching your goal. Feel the emotions, hear the sounds, smell the scents that go with that experience. The more vivid and realistic you can make it, the more powerful it will be.
Good advice. It's like creating a movie in your mind with a soundtrack and special effects.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of affirmations. These are positive statements that reinforce your desired beliefs and outcomes.
So instead of saying, I'm so stressed, I might say, I am calm and capable of handling this situation with grace.
That's it. The more you repeat these affirmations, the more you'll start to believe them and the more they'll shape your reality.
I love that. It's about taking control of your thoughts and choosing to focus on the positive.
Right. And remember, our thoughts create our feelings, which drive our actions, which ultimately shape our lives.
Okay, that's powerful. So we talked about all these amazing habits for being happier. But is there one thing that connects all these practices, a common thread that runs through them all?
That's a great question. And I think the answer is purpose.
Purpose. What do you mean by that?
At its core, purpose is about connecting with something bigger than ourselves. It's about finding that thing that makes you excited to get out of bed each morning. It could be your family, your community, your work, a creative passion, a cause you believe in, whatever gives your life meaning and direction.
So it's about finding that thing that makes your heart sing.
Exactly. And when we live in line with our purpose, it fills our lives with meaning and satisfaction. We feel a sense of accomplishment and contribution, which boosts our self-esteem and how we feel overall.
It's like having a guiding star that helps us navigate the ups and downs of life.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And finding our purpose is a journey. It's about exploring our passions, trying new things, and paying attention to what brings us joy and fulfillment.
So it's not about finding one big purpose, but about finding those things that spark our interest and give our lives meaning every day.
Exactly. And sometimes our purpose changes over time. What might have been meaningful to us 10 years ago might not be the same today. It's important to be open to new possibilities and let our purpose unfold naturally.
That's so liberating.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off finding the right answer and lets us enjoy the journey of discovering ourselves.
Absolutely. And remember, the journey itself is where a lot of the joy and growth happens.
Well, this has been an amazing conversation. I've learned so much, and I'm sure our listeners have too. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and insights with us.
It's been my pleasure. And remember, happiness is a journey, not a destination. Embrace the process, be kind to yourself, and never stop learning and growing.
It's so true. And speaking of learning and growing, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Learn English Lab YouTube channel for more fascinating topics. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep practicing those happiness habits. I think that's such a crucial point, that happiness is a journey. It's not about reaching some perfect state of bliss, but about those daily things we do and those shifts in our thinking that make life more fulfilling and joyful over time.
I totally agree. And it's interesting. We've been talking a lot about external habits, those things we do to become happier. But our internal world, our thoughts, our beliefs, our mindset, that plays a big role too.
Oh, definitely. I know for me, if I'm stuck in a negative headspace, it doesn't matter how much gratitude I practice, I'm still going to feel pretty bad.
Exactly. Our thoughts have a powerful influence on how we feel and what we do. If we're always putting ourselves down, it's going to be really hard to feel truly happy. There's this technique called cognitive reframing that can be really helpful for this.
Cognitive reframing. I've never heard of that. What is it?
It's about challenging those negative thoughts and replacing them with more balanced and realistic ones. Like, let's say you're stuck in traffic and you start thinking, this is terrible, I'm going to be late, my boss is going to be so mad. That kind of thinking just makes the stress worse.
Ugh, I know that feeling all too well.
But with cognitive reframing, you might think, okay, it's annoying to be stuck in traffic, but I can't do anything about it. I'll just text my boss and let him know I'm running late. I can listen to some music or a podcast while I wait.
So it's like shifting from this is the worst to, okay, how can I make the best of this?
Yeah, exactly. And the more you practice cognitive reframing, the more natural it becomes.
I like that. It's like you're taking charge of the story in your head, choosing to focus on the good stuff.
Exactly. And speaking of focusing on the positive, visualization is another powerful tool for creating happiness.
Oh, right. We talked about that before. It's like picturing yourself achieving your goals and feeling those good emotions, right?
Yep. And the important thing is to make those visualizations as real as possible. Use all your senses. See yourself achieving that goal. Feel the joy and satisfaction. Hear the sounds of celebration. Maybe even smell the champagne.
I love that picture. It's like you're making a movie in your mind where you're the star.
Exactly. And the more you watch that movie, the more real it becomes, and the more you start to believe it can happen.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's like planting those seeds of possibility in your mind.
And as we've been talking about all these different habits and practices, one theme keeps coming back to me, and that's connection.
Connection. How so?
Well, think about it. Micro disconnections are about connecting with ourselves, giving ourselves space for quiet and reflection. Gratitude is about connecting with the good things, appreciating the people and experiences, and even those little everyday moments that bring us joy. Talking to strangers is about connecting with our community, creating those little moments of kindness and recognizing our shared humanity. And purpose, well, that's about connecting with something bigger than ourselves, finding that thing that gives our lives meaning.
Wow, you're right. It seems like connection is the thread that runs through all these happiness habits.
And when we feel connected to ourselves, to others, to something bigger, it creates a sense of belonging, purpose, and well-being. That's really powerful.
That's a beautiful way to put it. I need a minute to think about that.
Take your time. It's a lot to take in, but I think that's a great place to end our conversation.
I agree. This has been such a fantastic conversation. I feel like I have so many new ideas and tools for being happier. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today.
It was my pleasure. And remember, the key is to try things out. Find what works for you and be patient with yourself.
Such good advice. And to all our listeners out there, we hope you enjoyed this deep dive into happiness. Remember, it's a journey, not a destination. Embrace the ups and downs. Be kind to yourselves and never stop learning and growing.
And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Learn English Lab YouTube channel for more great content.
Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep those happiness habits going.